Hi,
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Dubai is opened up, so I'm working from office, as you can see.
Oh,
So,
nice.
yeah, 2.5 months we've been coming to work. We have physical distancing and all in office, but we are going on as usual.
But
Like,
you're able
what?
to step out. I
Yes.
am in Hyderabad right now. I've
Okay.
come home. This is where my family lives, my parents and my brothers.
Right. Okay. So we'll
And
start with Yaara and the Chokri gang and your character Rizwan.
yes,
So tell me about that
yes.
first.
So yeah, the Chokri gang was something that started in the 1950s. This is four boys who are abandoned and kind of orphaned because of circumstances. Come together, strangers, but they become friends, and then eventually they become each other's everything, the parents, the girlfriend, मतलब दोस्ती में ही सब कुछ ढूंढ लेते हैं ये लोग एक दूसरे में, and they grow up to be full functioning smugglers in the 70s when they are young adults, and they're having a good run till a time that some situation hits them very hard, and it's also going to test their friendship and what they do, and then we travel another 20 years into the 90s, and we figure out these guys are all middle-aged men now, and they're trying to make peace with what has happened. So it's a saga of a crime gangster saga made by Tigmanshu. I play one of the four boys, go by the name of Rizwan.
Mm-hmm.
He's the more flamboyant, more at gift of the gap, and he's got a little charm going. He's also a big Bollywood buff. So
Okay.
it was an interesting part for me to really had the freedom to do whatever I wanted to do, because the part required a lot of freedom and abandonment and banishment. So it was interesting for me to do this part.
And have you also picked up another accent in this film because you've done that in the past work that you've done?
Yes. No, this was pretty much, it's actually a kind of a mainstream Bollywood kind of an affair. And not just from the present Bollywood, but it's a homage to the 70s and the 90s Bollywood. So the look and feel and the dialogue bazis will remind you of the 70s and the 90s.
Okay.
So there was an attempt to recreate a certain charm, forgotten now from that era. So we try to revisit that era, and if you observe, the character names are also very like from the 50s, Bhagun, Mitwa.
Uh-huh.
Uh, so there is Madan, there is Chagan. So these are like there's really like iconicized very small metaphors that you will find in the film. It's also uh, a love for the era by Tigmanshu, Dhulia, and all of us, the team that they came together, a very young team, not just the actors, but the overall team is going to be fresh. So it was basically a bunch of people coming together and celebrate a certain genre and an era.
Okay, it's based on a gang story.
Uh
Is it?
huh.
Does it have any shades of? Are these characters? I mean, based on real life characters as well during that era, or is it completely just picked up as a fictitious tale?
I think it's fictionalized, and of course it is. The idea came from Gang Story, but I remember Tigmanshu Dhulia sir told me when I met him for the part. He said, "I'm going to completely adapt it to the Indian fabric.
Mm.
We will we will have little glimpse of that film, but it's going to be completely like a reinterpretation of the story." So I never bothered to watch that film because I wanted to go with the vision of Tigmanshu sir, and it'll be interesting when the film comes out if people have seen both to see the comparison.
Okay. Tell me about your own band of friends while you're growing up and the most outrageous things you've done with them. Was there? I mean, I'm sure this is more antisocial that we're talking about in the film, but tell me about your own band of friends when you were growing up in Hyderabad, and
Yeah,
then what was the
yeah.
most outrageous thing you've done?
It was actually pretty late in my life. Probably like there were school friends and all, but I was such a raised like a really like a protected girl child in a Marwadi household that I barely stepped out of my home, and I was always surrounded by parents and siblings, and I was also occupied with activities such as comic books and carom boards and
Yeah.
cricket and so on and so forth. So it was much later on than probably in my 10th standard or so, the first time I went out with a couple of, a lot of school friends and watched the film, bunked the class. So friendship came in later in my life, but when it came, it completely overtook my life. I just got so much driven by what I received in friendship that it was big problem at my house. My father started feeling that I'm not spending any time at home. I'm always out with my friends. So we did have a bunch of friends, a bunch of boys and girls came together. It was actually like a gang because we named the gang also and stuff like that.
You
But not
named
like the violent gang, but
it?
yeah, it was like a boys most wanted BMW. So it's just like some
Okay.
some college kink. But anyway, so yeah, we did bunch of stuff. Mostly played a lot of pool, uh, snooker. Played lots of video games. Hung around a lot of girls' college. There's no girls' college in Hyderabad which we have not paid a visit to. So so we did all of those activities here. That occupied, I guess, 5 years of my life because I didn't go to my college. I went to other colleges, and and then I don't know. Tragically, theater happened, and then I just forgot everything else.
Right. There is a couplet. I saw the trailer, and the couplet on a trailer which is by Katil Shifai says, "वो मेरा दोस्त
Yeah,
है सारे जहां को है मालूम, दगा
Malum.
करे वो किसी से तो शर्माए मुझे." How do you react to something like this? Because it also talks about daga in a way. So does this film
Yeah,
also get into that space where everything is not about just happy
yeah,
friendships? It also changes.
yeah. It actually it's a great couplet because it also signifies friendship as very close bond, as close as a family. Because something goes wrong, कि हम
Yeah.
तुमने तो मेरी नाक काट दी, वो जो
Hmm.
feeling Indian families में होती है, it's a mirror to that kind of a feeling, which is interesting because again, friendship is something that you choose, family is something that you're born in,
Right.
and still you feel that kind of ownership for the loss uh, that you feel because a friend didn't behave or didn't do an activity or did an activity which was not good.
Hmm.
So there is ownership in that line, which I like a lot, and that's basically summarizes the closeness that the friendship can make, can happen.
Uh, Tell me about, do you feel that your childhood friends are more thicker than the friends that you made later in your life, and why?
Yeah, because it was the most unfiltered, carefree years of your
Hmm.
life where you didn't have the careers or the, there are no ambitions, there's no running around, there's just so much, just for the fun of it you are together.
Yeah.
And also you spend a lot of years, not just in the school because it's an institution that you're part of together, so your ups and downs are all visible to the friends, and it's a lot of fun. And you try to break away from the institution within, by even within staying in the, like, you break, teacher is teaching something and one of them laughs and the four other kids start laughing and they are all thrown out. So that's the journey that you have with friends in school, and you feel like you are a clan, which is something that I recreated again at the film school when I went at the Film Institute, Pune. Again, 20 actors. When you go through intense, rigorous acting training, you realize that you are completely naked in front of the other actors because you, I mean, emotionally and mentally fully naked, because everything that you're doing when you're constructing yourself as an actor is a very open process, and a lot of deep rooted patterns and issues erupt when they come outside. So the kind of coming together that happens in a space like that is also very, very special. And those are the friends I have managed to keep for years now. I left FTI in 2008, it's 2020, 12 years. And if I count 2 years of education, that's 15 years of friendship. So, so then there are school friends, there are college friends, and then there are the film school friends who are going to be the closest to you because they've seen you when you were a nobody, when you were constructing yourself, when you didn't have agendas, when you didn't have the deadlines, you didn't have to run around, you didn't have to pay bills. It was just a carefree period of your time.
Right.
And now we
Okay.
just remember the times that we that we live together.
Okay. A lot of your characters have been brutal characters that you've played till now. But they've always shown a certain sense of vulnerability, like Sasya's character has vulnerability. So, what is that
Have you seen the
vulnerability?
show?
Yeah?
Have you seen the show?
Uh,
Have you seen the show? She?
yeah, of course.
She.
I interviewed you after
Oh.
She. I interviewed you after She.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, tell me about the
Fascinating.
vulnerability in Rizwan. That is, what is that you've explored in that character? When brutal characters become vulnerable, you'll be there.
Yeah. I feel like the human side of every person is very special. The atrocities happen because of certain choices that you've taken either in your childhood or due to some setbacks and so on and so forth. Usually people have a very strong human side. It's just a matter of spiritual growth that you understand that this is what will give you more fulfillment than the other. But I try to find human side to every character I play. Not every time. I try to also make, like in the case of Pink, I didn't want everybody to relate with this person. I wanted everybody to unanimously hate because it served the purpose. In the painting, that was the tone that was required to finish the picture. But in a show like She, the Imtiaz wanted people to understand who this person is. And then because this person is an insight into the girl's mind, because the girl is hardwired into a mind like this. And this is where she found absurdly to her own self, her own sexuality. So it was an interesting thing. But with the Rizwan, if I have to say, I feel just for me, a one-liner like four orphan kids coming together and finding a life and actually leading a life that they thought they could never even imagine to lead after having nobody around. At the same time, uh, didn't go to the school, didn't go to the college, but learned on the street, on the move, in the movies, in the fashion. So they're able to like project a life which is fascinating. But how fascinating is it from inside? It is the real discovery for me. You know? Because when they meet a character like Sukanya, who's played by Shruti Hassan, she's a scholar, she's a revolutionary. So four of them are like baboons in front of her, you know.
Okay, tell me about the films of friends that you've admired. Because of course, Gully Boy is a very very big example. It's always compared when it talks about friendship. Your character, I mean, is always considered to be the epitome of friendship. I mean, in terms of a lot of friend characters. Is Rizwan anywhere or in the same lines, or what is it? Is it similar? Can we compare the two or not at all?
I don't think there is scope for comparison because Moin was really like trying to make it work within a very limited space. Here they've created everything that they wanted, and they are full-fledged smugglers on the Nepal border in the 70s, and they're living it up. And in the 90s also you see them doing prolific stuff. They've changed the enterprise, but they are really really hitting it. So it's actually they've created the privilege for their own self, which is interesting because Moin always lacked it. But I don't know. I've never really thought about it. It's an interesting question, but something that we can discuss maybe after the release when we can have a better comparison.
Are you in the opening scene of this film as well?
I so wish. I haven't seen the film yet, so we might just be surprised. I don't know. I hope I am because I really like it. It happened in Gully Boy. It happened in Super 30.
It has been very, very good for you.
It was three of my projects, in fact. Gully Boy, it was Super 30, and it was also Chittagong, my first feature.
Yeah. And you, in one of your interviews, you did mention that after you watched Aankho Dekhi, you were very motivated to, follow the path that you had chosen to do that kind of cinema that you would choose. and you would reject roles that you wouldn't want to. So, the art of saying no has also been instrumental in your career of doing the roles that you want to do. So tell me about that
Yeah.
process. Uh,
Akho
saying
Dekhi
no.
was a very special.
Yeah.
Akho Dekhi was a very special experience for me because it came at a time when my life, when my career was completely not happening, and I was not in a good shape because you are very discontent or dissatisfied with the way things are happening. Time is ticking, and families are worried, and so on and so forth. There's no money, there's nothing. And it came, and I saw that film. The film moved me to pieces. That's one side of the story. The other side was like this person, this fabulous actor, Sanjay Mishra, got this chance at the age of, I don't know how old he was when he did it, but at a much later stage in his life. And I felt like this man delivered it at that age. He got a chance at that age. If that means, if this journey is going to be that long and that far-fetched,
Yeah.
do I still have it in me to go on? And the answer that came from inside was yes. And that was very, very powerful. I felt like, because I have so much to give, I just wanted an opportunity to be able to give. So that was kind of a comforting experience, although a very, very problematic comfort, because
Yeah.
it basically could be a 20-year wait. That would have been tough. That can be very tough. So the art of saying no was something that I picked up very early on, probably when I was still forming my opinions in FTI. I remember I heard this saying called beggars can't be choosers. And I didn't like that saying because I felt like anybody at any stage of the life can decide to choose whether they want this or not, And I made a couple of mistakes early on in my career. I did work for money, and the experiences itself turned out to be very, very lame. The success or the failure of the film was secondary for me, but just the process of doing those projects was not very fulfilling for me. So I realized I have to be stimulated with like-minded kind of people, and people actually I look up more than uh, for a collaboration. So therefore, I say no, and I don't mind it at all.
Mm. Right. From Monsoon Shootout to now, all your roles again have been exactly what you've chosen to. And you've also mentioned that there was a typecast thing that used to happen to you, and you had to refuse people because of certain typecast.
Yeah.
Now, uh, is there an effort to not typecast yourself, or you just like a role and you do it, or the process of choice?
Yeah.
How do you?
I'm not worried about just playing negative parts. That's not the typecast I'm
Yeah,
suffering
yeah,
from. The
yeah.
typecast is the character is uncannily similar to the one that I've done before.
I've done before. Yeah, yeah,
That is not acceptable for me. Moin and Sase are completely different characters, and so is Rizwan. They might be negative, and people can bracket them into a certain, oh, he just does negative
hmm,
parts, or he does grey roles and stuff like that.
yeah,
But I feel in my mind, when I'm structuring them in those, they're completely different people. My approach has been different. There are small changes I bring, and
right.
sometimes people read it, sometimes people fail to read it, but that's fine with me. So it's
Hmm.
not the negative or the friend or the supporting or these kind of typecast I'm worried about. I'm worried about repeating um, something again. That's the only concern.
Okay. You've also got a letter of appreciation from Mr. Amitabh Bachchan. Now, tell me about that, and how did you and your family react to it? Because that's big validation.
Yeah, it was really a special, one of the most special days of my life, because I remember it arrived at my door, and there was a huge 6 feet safari wearing man, completely hidden behind a bouquet of flowers, and there was a leather diary I had to sign in, and so it was smelling so good. I opened it, and I couldn't read it for a while because I was in tears, and then uh, it feels like you got the award that you deserve just by hearing from a man who's of that magnitude.
Yeah.
And of course the family was completely over the moon. I took several pictures. I posted one. I just have so many outtakes.
Okay, last time when I spoke to you, you said that you wanted a career like Irfan Khan. Now tell me about your
Yeah.
memories of this fabulous actor who we lost, and I mean, something that can never be repaired, or the space that will never be filled. Tell me about your interaction with Irfan.
Uh, he is probably one of the most strongest inspiration for me. Although we spent very little time, he actually came to the classroom when I was studying at FKI. He was shooting for a Mighty Heart with
Okay.
Angelina Jolie.
Mhm.
So here is a Hollywood star who walked into a classroom full of 20 actors, young actors, and
Yeah.
interacted with us. And I saw it on other people's face what he meant to them. I was not a cinema kid, so I
Mm.
did not see much of Hindi cinema or any cinema growing up. So it was other people's eyes that I saw certain plays when they
Yeah.
looked at Irfan, and then I started watching his films, and I realized uh, what did he do? Uh, how did he completely shifted the way people looked at films and performances? And it was years later that we were at the same festival, at the Cannes Festival. He was there with his film Lunchbox, and I was there with my film Monsoon Shootout, and we were sharing the same table at dinner table organized for the Indian
Mhm.
contingent. It was a very proud moment for me. And he said, I told him, I was one of the students who came and interacted with. Like, ah, abhi to student tha, mere saath mein kaam kar raha hai. You're walking the same. So it was yeah. And then we've been in touch. In fact, in Yaara also, I remember he was invested in the way I was looking the older age because he happened to be at Tigmanshu sir's office when I was doing my look trial.
Mhm.
And he was like, इसका ये बाल यहाँ से push करो, ये करो, इसका दाढ़ी वाल ये करो. So he was completely took over the hair, makeup, costume side of my look, and he was invested in what I was doing. Uh, but somebody who I feel like not just as a great performer, an international artist, at the same time a deeply spiritual and a philosophical soul. Something that we will be missing because he had a lot of key insights into the workings of the universe and the artists. And so he's given a lot, but I felt like he held a lot more with him, and he left us with that unfinished feeling.
About Tigmanshu Dhulia, working with somebody like him, who's such a noted director, who's also actor, has been acting as well,
Yeah.
and direction. So tell me about your process with him and how that happened. How did you get chosen for the role and everything about you and him?
Yeah, so he was a wish come true. Like working with Tigmanshu was a wish that I had when I saw Pansing Tomar. That's when I fell in love madly in love with Tigmanshu's films and Irfan Khan Sabi. Pretty madly because I saw the film 3 days in a row at at the theaters.
Mhm.
So so it was then I was sitting there and I was watching this film. Like, how do I get a chance to work with this director? And a couple of years later, I get a call and I test for the part. And I hear from the director the same email. Manju called is like, अच्छा लगा audition, but थोड़ा सा changes करके दोबारा दो. I made the changes and I gave the audition again. And I remember I was immediately called and said, "You're blocked." Uh, and what started then was I had a 15-page script at that time when I said yes to the film.
Okay.
Uh, and he said, so I said, आगे क्या? He said, आगे अभी लिखना है. So I said, you know what, sir, I have just one concern. He's like, what is the concern? I said, I just don't want to be like a hero's friend who's there to do hi-fi or to dance behind it. So if that's the only concern. He's like, that's the only concern. I said, yes. तो अच्छा concern है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं करने वाला मैं तुम्हारे साथ. And we did this film quite a while back. I think before Gully Boy, before Pink. So it's the film had its own journey going. So I was like, again, I was out of work, but I still wanted to have my conditions laid out. And and uh, and what happened eventually was that he kept developing the part through the
Mhm.
course of the filmmaking. There are so many portions that he's added because we were working well together. He was really enjoying looking at me through the camera. He was he often complimented me after the shot, and it gave me a lot of confidence at that time. It gave me a confidence unparalleled till date because it's when you are still like not significantly there, is when somebody as prolific as Tigmanshu saying that you're good means a lot. So that confidence was very, very important. And a friendship that developed through the course of the film took a year to finish, a year to shoot to finish, and so we became very good friends. We have mutual love for the movies and the web series and so on and so forth, and the literature. So there's a constant exchange that keeps going on. It's been going on for 5 years now.
And you have an admirable list of other directors that you'll be working with and have worked with. You have Zoya Akhtar that you worked with. You have, I believe Reema Kakti is one of the other directors you'll be working with. Meera Nair. Now tell me about each one of them and what they bring out in your performance. If you can choose a few of them and tell me.
Zoya brings out details. Zoya brings out surprise. You think that the writing is great, and you play it out. She's like, no, but there is more. So she will surprise you with her insights. Rima is a meticulous director. She at the same time she is waiting at the monitor to be floored. So if you want to try something out, she's all game. Which is great. Meera Nair is a school. She's a school principal who is there to make sure that you get the best grades. That you do every bit of your homework, and then you come on the set with the right aptitude, and you come and you floor me. So she's the toughest taskmaster I've worked with. Also because I say that with deepest respect, because she knew that she was dealing with a long list of actors who haven't done anything in English language. So she had to be on top of the game. And she's also taking us back to the 50s. So she has more insight into the era than anybody else. Because she's studied it that much, and she's read the book over and over. She sat with it on it. So all these fantastic women have given me so many ways to paint a canvas with them.
And what about Anand Gandhi and Ranjan Chanderi as well?
Ranjan is a fiercely independent voice. He's a cinema buff. He's a Bollywood fan. But it's like कि ये बोलना है, but मेरे हिसाब से बोलना है, which is a great quality in him. He's very certain about what he wants, and for a first-time director, he's managed to pull off a story which is worth lauding. And Anand Gandhi, I don't know what Anand Gandhi is. We still haven't figured out what Anand Gandhi is. He's so much more than just being a filmmaker, and also a crazy filmmaker that is trying to push boundaries which we can't even see. Forget about pushing those boundaries. I've known him since the day I joined FTI, because he was part of the selection procedure. He was one of those people who were selecting the actors. So he saw me when I was a small beach, like a seed, and a deep respect for each other. What we've done together. So Anand is producing a show, which his team members Neil and Pooja are directing, is something that you haven't even heard being adapted in India. It's a sci-fi mockumentary set in the future about a murder which has happened by a self-driven car. And I'm so easy. So you can imagine the crazy headspace that the people at Nemesis are in, which is fabulous.
Isn't this a great time to be in cinema, with so much of content happening in ways that you wouldn't have thought about a few years ago, and with the OTT opening out versions of different kinds of content coming in. So tell me about that. Because it's a fantastic, as audiences, I'm sure people have spoiled for choice, but as actors, how do you, this entire is different.
I think this pandemic would have been such a tough journey if we didn't have the streaming services. Let's be honest about it. We are provided hands-on entertainment every day. And as you rightfully said, we are spoiled with choices right now. Just imagine going through this isolation and lockdown without the entertainment. We should be, we should blessed with our, these should be blessed right now. And at the same time, I feel uh, it's the greatest time for creatives right now because earlier I only heard stories of being unemployed for most of the artists behind the scenes as well. Right now, people are so overworked. I'm just talking just before the lockdown. People were so overworked. People are not able to find ADs and the cameramen and the assistant cameramen and the spoil boys and the makeup. Forget about it. Everybody is working. I feel it's generating so much revenue for everybody. It's generating sort of so much employment for everybody. Uh, and the more success you find, the ability to control and to be part of better projects is going to be given to you. So it's a great time. It's actually very democratic because they don't discuss their figures and there's no pressure of 4 crore का opening हुआ, तीसरे दिन कितना हुआ, इसका कितना हो जाएगा, ये कितने में बैठ जाएगी, ये कितने में उठ जाएगा. इस तरह की बातें नहीं हो रही, which is very detrimental to the films. So it's an extremely democratic process. They don't tell you how many people have seen it. You overall get a sense of how good the project is based on the number of people who are talking about it. Right?
And the fact that character roles have become central. It's no longer not necessarily just a lead, and then there are other characters.
Yeah.
Every person...
it's been an interesting transition. Yeah, which was something which is actually a very which is a tradition from the longer formats, because I remember when I was growing up and I was watching a lot of television serials, we remembered every character, right?
Yes.
We have a protagonist and stuff like that, which is a longer formats tradition because every character gets the breathing space and you see various shades, you see their homes, you see their family, you see their work. So you get an overall picture of a person. Therefore, you can become a fan of a certain character, which is a restriction in the smaller format because its length is anything between 90 minutes to say 180 minutes, which is the length that you have to. So they have to say everything in that. Therefore, their preferences on making the movie, the story move forward with the protagonist as the main interest. Having said that, I also saw a very interesting trend where a lot of leading actors, in not just Hindi but across all industries in India, have taken a very deliberate choice to perform in a manner that is worthy of a praise as a performer and not just as a hero. We've seen that happen with Ranbir Kapoor or with several characters that Ranbir Singh played. Or whatever Kangana did, or whatever Alia does, and Deepika, and so on and so forth. These people are taking choices in a way that they are trying to work closely as an actor and not just as a celeb, as a star. So it's everybody coming together to say that, let's focus on making the characters as real, as smashing, as wholesome as possible.
Thank you.
Which was actually a very supporting actor's drive for a longest period of time कि मेरे को character निकाल के लेके आना है. Abhi everybody wants to bring it out. Everybody wants to work on it. They want to work on the lingo. They want to work on the body language. They want to go to that region and understand the region. So that kind of homework is also happening in the leading man of the industry, which is merging. It's like both sides are coming together. It's just not one side going into the other.
Right. Are you shooting in Hyderabad as well, or it's just home? And
no, it's just home. I was sick of being with myself in Bombay, and then the whole Sushant episode happened, and my family freaked out, and they were like making panic calls. Come home, and it affected all of us very, very strongly. So I came back. Because I'm going to be. Yeah, because my sister tied me Rakhi slightly early this time because I will be heading back to Bombay and before Rakhi. So she said, now that I have you, let's make this.
So thank you very much for speaking to me. It's lovely as well, always to talk to you. And thanks. Absolutely. And let's watch Yaara and then we'll catch up again. Yeah.
Yes, let's do that again, please. Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Thank you.